Hi, everyone. Welcome back to Friends of Mortgage Heroes. You guys know me. I'm Andy. But today I have two friends of mine who we met all the way back in 2012. That's a little surreal to say. I got my friend Billy Colstock here and Yesenia Nogales. You guys, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for having us.
So thank you for refreshing my memory because right at the beginning, I'm like, is it 2011 or 2012? Notice I didn't say 2012 or 13. I was like, no, it's either older or older.
Right?
Yeah, it was, gosh, that seems like so long ago, but also so recent. Is that just me?
No, I think it feels like that way to me too. Yeah,
Time flies when you're having a good time.
it is true.
So,
So you've been having a good time the last 14 years.
of course. Of course.
Most people that are going to see this, they know you guys. You're pretty well branded throughout San Diego. You've been in real estate a really long time. You've had success in real estate. Some people who may not know that you also have We Lease USA, which is a property management company.
Yep.
And so I kind of want to talk about some of those things today from the experiential perspective. Because of your years of experience, because of your depth of knowledge and your reach in town, I'd like to kind of let that depth take over our conversation and really allow your expertise to come through. So, how about just really quickly, let's start with let's start with like right now in the spring of 2026. What has already surprised you in the market here in San Diego?
You want to take that one, Billy? First?
Well, it's okay, sure. So I think what is surprising to me is that we have normally, I feel like normally after the first of the year, we have a little bit of a spring, in other words, like a bounce in the market, right? So we generally, and I always tell owners, San Diego, because of the weather, I feel like the market is not as impacted over the holidays, but it definitely has a little bit of, a downturn. But generally in the spring, it bounces back. I have not felt that, and specifically in property management, as much. The values have stayed kind of flat. I wouldn't say that they're necessarily going down. They have gone down from 2023, but I haven't felt as much of a spring as I would have thought as the new year brought.
What do you think is responsible for that? I have my suspicions, but before I shared them, I wanted to ask what you guys think is the reason for that. I was literally on a call today, and we were talking about this very thing. What's your kind of front of the lines, or what do you think is the culprit for why that's happening?
I will have you answer that one.
Okay, fine. So I think that what's gone on is in 2021, 2022, the market went up so much and so fast that I think people kind of they absorb that I have to pay this much to live in San Diego, but I think it got to a point where people are like, okay, that's enough. I'm just not going to move if I have to pay more. And they've just accepted the rent increases over time. And so it's caused a situation where the housing market has not moved as fast as what we may have wanted it to move in the last couple of years. And also the rental market's not moving as fast. And so people are just sort of staying put. And so I think that we just can't expect at the moment the prices to increase with so many people staying in place. And that's what I think has caused it right now.
You want to chime in on that?
Yeah, I think it's definitely supply and demand as well. I think we have so many new constructions in San Diego. We especially seen the shift in the market in condos, where condos are taking a lot longer to, rent for us. Last year during this time, we were moving condos fast, less than 30 days. We already have people submit an application. Now it's taking way longer. And I do think it's, supply and demand. So we're just having a lot of that in San Diego.
Definitely condos are a little bit more harder hit right now than
Yeah.
houses.
As far as like property type, absolutely.
Yes. Right.
I don't want to be over exaggerate and say they've been clobbered, but in some sense, you could probably argue they've been clobbered a little bit more
Right.
than the detached and even the townhomes a little bit.
Correct.
One of the, like, I'll say non-market things that came up in this conversation I'm referencing from earlier today even was people are just waiting for something else, fill in the blank.
Yep.
They're waiting for something. There's something else that they're waiting on to decide whether they do this or do that with real estate.
Right.
It could be job. It could be moving in. It could even be moving out of town. It could be relocating within this county of San Diego. And numerous references of that came up today of, oh, I'm just waiting for this or waiting for that. It was like whatever that thing was is just that one step prior to whatever next housing move they were going to make. Completely separate from the whole golden handcuffs and people with low rates and inventory on the resale side being lower than normal. It was just whatever life event they're waiting for needs to happen first before they make their next move in real estate.
It makes a lot of sense. I mean, people are waiting on things, and with the cost of housing, it's a lot less expensive to stay in place versus, and then get those toys or those other secondary things that are making people happy versus, I saw a statistic one time that said people move most often because they're bored, not because of family creation or family size. It's just because they're bored, right? And so if they can entertain themselves other ways less expensively, okay, yeah, I can pay this rent.
Yeah.
I can pay this mortgage.
Yeah. And have you noticed like have you noticed a distinct shift when it comes to the types of landlords you're dealing with, the types of properties they have, the quality of the properties, what pockets are popping off in San Diego? You know, a lot has changed in 5 years, but let's kind of narrow it a little bit. Like, what are some things that are maybe more true now than they were just even a couple of years ago?
I think for us in this market, we have a lot of clients who are accidental landlords who are maybe, moving out of state and they couldn't sell the house for the money that they were looking for. We do see a lot of that because the market, has kind of stayed, right? It hasn't really increased. They buy the property 2 years ago, 3 years ago. They can't sell it for the money that they pay for it. So we are seeing a lot of, clients in that situation. This at least in the last 2 years.
Right.
Well, even on that point, people often talk about like, hey, be careful, don't try to time the market. But then there's the negative part of timing the market. You're like, oh, I was in at 2023. I'm going to go ahead and spruce this place up and I'm going to put it on the market and sell for a profit in 24 months. Well, that timing is backfiring on you right now.
Good, right.
Yeah, that's really true. I think another thing that people are not taking into consideration right now, especially in a rental space, is ADUs and how that's affecting things. I think that the ADUs and that might lead to why condos are getting hit so hard is because of the inventory. The regulations came in, became sexy right after COVID, right?
Right.
And so now the building has started to come in, and those are starting to get delivered. So now people who may have otherwise been looking at a condo now get a backyard, now get some space because it's a space in the backyard, very similar to a condo, but it has a yard or some outdoor feature maybe. So that's another thing a lot of people aren't taking into consideration when they're thinking about rentals.
I'm going to ask this a little vaguely so you can have space to answer.
Sure.
What do you like and dislike about the ADU situation in San Diego County?
That's a
That's
good
a
one.
good
Because I know there's both. I'm assuming, and I hope I'm right, that there's both sides of I like and dislike them. What would you opine as some of the things you like and dislike about our ADU situation?
I would say, I mean, what I like about the situation is that it opens up opportunity for people who otherwise couldn't potentially afford a second, property for an investment, or maybe for bigger families who now need, their kids need another space and they can't afford another house. So I think it's opened up a lot of possibilities for people who couldn't otherwise potentially afford to purchase another home. Rather than purchase another home, maybe they can just build another home in the space that they already own. So I think I like that that aspect of it. If I live in a neighborhood and I have a single home, and what I don't like about it is I don't want to have a 9 apartment building in the back of the house of my neighbor's house. So yeah, does it affect other people? Yes, that's what I don't like. But I guess we can't. I guess you can't really make everybody happy.
I would say, I was going to say the taking advantage of the new regulations, right? And the densities, it's hurting some neighborhoods in the sense that like there's less parking, there's
Oh yeah,
a lot more people moving into those areas.
a lot of cars.
A lot of density in an area that wasn't meant for density maybe, or it was already dense in the first place. And so it's creating those challenges, right? And I don't know if the infrastructure in those areas are built out the same way to add the amount of density that's being put into those areas. Maybe not necessarily as much as is it happening in, like, call it Alley Gardens or Del Cerro. It might be more North Park, right? So I don't know if there's that many ADUs that are going into those, like, traditional, like, family neighborhoods yet. The regulations say that it can, right? And then I think that the other thing that people aren't considering is that with the family aspect, it's keeping people in place again, right? So it's holding inventory that would have otherwise come on the market off the market, right? So making this challenge that we have with inventory even deeper, right? So now not only do they have the great rate and everything else, now they're able to build onto that lot and make that lot more useful for their family, making it so they just may never come on the market again.
Yeah, it's like it's solving a supply issue on one part while also withholding supply on the other. Like,
Correct.
oh, I'm going to bring a new ADU onto the market, but my primary house is now not on the market.
Correct.
And may otherwise would have been. Because up until all this, it was like, oh, you want to have a place in the front and a place in the back, go buy a duplex. Or you want to have 3 on a lot or 4 on a lot, go buy that triplex or that fourplex or whatever. But now it's like you can do 9 on 1 or 30 or whatever that crazy one I saw was in a cul-de-sac.
Right.
Yeah, that definitely, I think, more hurts a neighborhood than brings value to the neighborhood. It might bring value cash flow wise to that property. That is probably not bringing high value to the neighborhood in my estimation.
I don't think it's bringing a lot of value to the regular consumer. I think it's bringing value to investors, bigger investors, because, they can do that, right? They're not going to leave. The investor is not going to live in that neighborhood, but they're going to invest in that neighborhood.
Coming from a property management perspective, that's the great aspect of ADUs, right? Is the investment aspect of what they bring. I mean, I feel like that's probably one of the best opportunities in San Diego is buying that lot, large lot, small house, and building or filling that lot with as many ADUs as you can, but as you responsibly can. I think that's also a twist.
Good.
Yeah, I think that's a twist to what a lot of investors are looking at now is they're not looking necessarily at the micro units. I think when it first came out, people were thinking like, hey, can I get 32 on this? Let's go. Let's get 32.
Nuts.
But now maybe they're looking at scaling that back to, like, maybe it's better to put 12 on this and have parking and have various different amenities that are going to make the property more attractive long term, not just the cash flow. I think obviously investors are always going to go after the cash flow, go after the return, which is normal and natural. But I think that that's one of the best opportunities that I see in the market because California properties historically don't cash flow well. They can, you just have to put quite a bit down to get to those returns that you might see in the Midwest or South or whatnot.
Yeah. But you're banking on the fact that there's future value in it, so you can sell it to another investor or just sell it to whoever else next in line. And you have not only the cash flow as mild or aggressive as it might be at that future time, as well as the value increase of the property itself. So in the context of all that, though, like what would you say from your seats in this space in San Diego? What would you say the timeline trajectory is for this? I'm going to call it a trend because it's trending right now. Do you think we still have 3 more years of this, 5 more years, 10 more years? Like, what do you think is the driver time-wise for how much longer this might continue?
That's interesting. And I think you're probably going to have to ask the lawmakers because I think that California wants to have a lot of density. I think that they want to have density versus the sprawl. It's probably easier when you're coming in and doing city planning to have density, right? So that's going to really be a play with what goes on with the not in my backyard type comments from communities and how that gets addressed. But I think in general, where they want density, this is going to go on for a while. Because we do have people moving to California, we do have the need. We are behind on building permits. We have a lot of inventory issues, so it's going to go on until that sort of is solved. So it's here for a while, but it may change in different neighborhoods.
As long as there is demand for it, right? And people are still moving to California and people are looking for housing. I mean, the investors are going to continue to build if the demand is there.
Yeah.
Right. So, I mean, it hasn't slowed down the demand in the last
I think it's popularized a segment of real estate investing that people used to used to consider fringe before the last 5 or 10 years. It was like, oh, I'm a real estate investor. Like, what does that mean? You own a place? You own two places? So, but no, now like real estate investing as an entire chunk of someone's portfolio is now a thing, where they're looking at the garage convert. I'm going to buy a house. I'm going to buy a garage convert. I'm going to do the garage conversion. Oh, and then I'm going to build something else because there's also space in the back. Now I took my one and it's a three.
Well, it made it possible in California.
Right.
So a lot of that money used to go out of state. So a lot of that money would be into multifamily or some kind of other real estate venture out of state, and kept a lot of capital here. So that is one great thing about this set of legislation.
Yeah,
That it's
people
staying
that were
here.
doing that, they're expanding that here, and then the people who weren't doing it are looking at it as an avenue to buy, own, and hold real estate long term. Because, frankly, some of the same people making those choices that I'm talking to, or that I'm hearing from, I should say, they're like, well, I don't necessarily trust these other aspects of investing my money as I do this one, because this has a roof over people's head. These ones don't.
Right.
These ones might have a better return, but the risk profile is different. They're not like for like. And so what I'm really getting to is like the attitude and the approach and the opinion of why this matters is twofold. Number one, supply in the market. Number two, affordability for people to actually find a place they can stay in and stay inside the county lines of San Diego. And then investors going, oh, we'll meet you there, and we'll meet you there for these returns that our investors still have an appetite for, or I have an appetite for, based on the risk I'm willing to take.
Correct.
So it's like this culmination of like perfect conditions over these last couple of years that it's really erupted, and I don't see it changing, because we still will have a supply issue until we don't,
Yeah.
and we have an affordability issue until we don't.
Exactly.
So on the argument side of like, hey, this helps solve some affordability, I think it kind of does, because you guys know you want to rent a house here on the east side of Chula Vista. It's a 3-bedroom house. You're going to pay $3,600 to $4,200.
Right.
You want to
Maybe
go
even
rent
more.
or more.
Right.
Right.
You want to go get an ADU? Maybe that's $2,500.
Right.
Maybe it's $2,300. Maybe even $2,750. That might still be digestible for someone on single income or too low income, something like that. And they don't need a backyard, or they need a side yard only. They don't need the whole thing.
Correct.
Correct.
So I'm seeing that affordability is being eased, even if it doesn't equal ownership at this time. It's putting pressure on apartments, honestly, because the apartments now, they're facing the uphill. They're stuck in wind, face uphill battle, because what are they to do? They can't offer the stuff the ADU has. Maybe they got a gym. Okay, they got a community pool and a sauna
That no one ever uses.
all the other stuff. Yeah, like, oh, we got a dog washing place. Okay, so what? I have a tub too. Like, so I think I'm sorry, I'm jumping to like macroeconomics, but I think really that's putting pressure more on the apartment associations and apartment complexes more than it is other ADU people in town that have
That's true.
places for rent.
That's true.
It's true. It doesn't attack the purchasing of a home affordability yet, though. So I'd be curious to see like how that gets played out. Can people save more by maybe living in the ADU, and then future purchase? That's a big question, but it doesn't attack the ability to buy a home. Not yet.
And you're uncovering a huge problem, which is if you're renting in a single family residential neighborhood right now, you're not saving money
Right.
to put for a down payment, because you can't.
Hmm.
You're paying in some cases the equivalent of a mortgage payment and millers or whatever. Maybe a little less depending on what your purchase price is and down payment, etc. But man, it's really flirting with it, isn't it?
Right.
It's becoming same for same, but you own or you don't.
Right.
Right.
What do we do to fix that? This is the solution show. No, I don't have all the answers, of course, you guys. But what would you say is something that we could do, either as an industry or in policy or just in our economics in general? What would help us get more people into home ownership?
Oof. That's a big question. Go ahead.
Lowering rates would be one. I mean, one of the ways, and I mean, getting
Cost of borrowing money being lower.
yeah,
What can we do? Like, we can't really lower the rates. It has to be the feds.
Well, it'd be a variable that would help, because it keeps people on the sidelines right now. Like, you see people literally opt out. They go, I'm not even going to apply. I don't even want to talk to Billy Yesenia because I can't buy a house. I already know I can't.
No.
Even maybe they actually can. They just say they can't, and then they don't take the next step.
Right.
But that's that psychological part where people just punch out.
And I think a lot of people are basically there, knowing that the interest rate were at 3% a few years ago, and now they're 6%. Like, are there still people waiting for those interest rates to come down? Some people are.
That goes
you
back
know?
to that whole you mentioned earlier in the show is that people are timing the market, and then how do you actually time the market when you can't, because you know you're gonna miss it if you spend too much time looking at it, and then you just have to get in at some point in time.
Yeah.
You have to break in and bite that bullet, and then allow for the market to start to, because yes, okay, if you bought a house 2 or 3 years ago and you're ready to have that on the market, you might not be in an equity position right now,
Mhm.
but you will be in 3 or 4 years. I do have faith and that much confidence in the market, but people have to get in. They have to get in now.
Is there anything in the market right now that's like flashing red light, flashing a red flag to you guys? Like, oh, buyer beware, seller beware, renter beware. Is there landlord, investor beware? Is there anything firing off that you see that really is? I'm going to say it's something that's troubling you, but maybe you're not admitting yet that you're troubled by it.
I have so much faith in the market
Yeah.
in the sense that it will always come around. Historically in California, it comes around, right? I don't have anything that's just like, don't do that. I would say though, okay, I'll take that back a little bit. Don't buy a house if your intention is to have it be an investment. Don't buy a primary residence as an investment for a short period of time. The market has taught us that, right? But if you're buying a property for a 5-10 year period, I don't feel like you can go wrong. And as long as you have that, like that extended timeline, and you're okay that if it's instead of it being 5 years, it's 7 years, or if it's instead of 7 years, it's 10 years, as long as you're okay with that, there's no flashing lights for me.
Have you
Yeah.
some realistic time frame for yourself, and really isolate the noise stuff from what's your situation look like for you and your family, and what
Right.
your choices are, your time horizons are,
Right.
and all that. Like localize it and personalize
Right.
it.
Right.
Yeah.
Homeownership is still, bar none, I think, the best way to build wealth in California, in the United States.
Yeah.
And so you can't go wrong if you're looking at it for a long-term value.
Yeah. What's happening in the space with like the short-term rental stuff, like the Airbnb and the VRBO stuff? There have been a lot of industry articles, a lot of national articles about how these places are plummeting in price in other parts of the country. I'm qualifying this by other parts of the country where there was rampant buying, overbuying, overpaying, and overestimating how much value they would return cash flow wise. Are you seeing, at least here in San Diego, are you seeing that people who initially bought a place for short term are now actually looking to be long term landlords of those places, or has that not flipped over yet?
I think we are experiencing some people coming to us looking for long-term rentals who had short-term rentals. I mean, that probably didn't have the return on the investment that they were looking for. It sounds very attractive, the monthly income that you can get, but at the same time, they're not taking in consideration the vacancy time that it takes, to run a short rental. They're not taking consideration that you have to continue to supply, and maintain the property at a level that people want to experience, right, that place. So we are seeing some people. I don't think that it completely has flipped yet, but what are your experience?
I think that there's still people out there who are still
Yeah.
considering doing it, and I think that it still has numbers. In San Diego, I think you still make good money with it. I think though that people don't go into it as prepared as maybe they need to be.
Yeah.
Right? What Yesenia was saying is the vacancy, the turnover, the costs of the short term. If you go into it with a business mindset of, this is what I expect to gross, this is what I'm going to cost to get me there, and then this is what I'm going to charge. And one thing that people aren't maybe as fast as what they ought to be is changing prices, right? Being aggressive. Vacancy kills your return much more than people really anticipate or think of.
Yeah.
Right. So you've got to get those properties turned over for them to actually get those sexy numbers. Because I mean, if you can rent a property for $3,400, but you're only getting $4,200 for a vacation or short-term rental, that's not with the vacancy and the turnover costs, it's not going to be sexy for you. You're going to run into cash flow issues with that.
It'll be painful at some point, is what
Yeah,
you're saying.
it's going to be painful. But if you're really managing and you're getting somebody in there and you have 70% vacancy. We don't do short term, so I don't know
we stay away from it.
Yeah, we stay away. But if you have higher, occupancy, you're going to have a good experience with it.
Yeah. Well, it was more about like on the receiving side, because I'm noticing so some people that had bought something for short-term rental purposes, they overspent on making it ready.
Yeah.
And then the equity now is not there because of their acquisition price plus their build cost and the reno cost. Now they can't sell at a market price because in the neighborhoods, in some of them, it's flat.
Right.
It hasn't dipped or fallen off a cliff. It's just flat. So maybe now there's not a way out for them. But then the only other choice is, well, I got to either rent more times of the month, or I got to figure out how to flip this thing over into a long term and just put someone here for 12 months, 24 months, or 36, and then figure it out.
And most of those people do not like the answer, we don't rent properties long term unfurnished or furnished. They don't like those answers.
Why do they dislike that answer?
Well, because they spent so much money furnishing it, right? So they spent a lot of money furnishing it, and then now they've got all this furnishing. It looks like your studio here. It's great, right, for Airbnb.
Yeah,
but
it's my stuff.
It's your stuff, right? Nobody wants your stuff. So they have that issue, and most long term tenants don't want. They have Aunt Tilly's table, and they want to put that in the house.
They may want the pinball machine.
Is not the same.
Yeah, they may want the pinball machine.
The pinball machine, the pool table, ping pong. Yeah, leave all that stuff. But I don't need all the furniture and the nightstands and all that.
Right. And the other issues that come with the belief that because it's furnished, you're going to be able to rent it for a lot more. And even if it's a long rental, I'm like, the furnished, doesn't give the value to a long-term tenant. It's the short term that determines the value of the property.
The only place I've seen that work historically is in very high-end places and places where that person already knows it's temporary for them. I'm only coming to San Diego for 12 months, 24 months. I don't want to bring all my crap. I'll bring my clothes and some creature comforts, but otherwise, it's got a couch, it's got a dining room. Like they'll just go rent it. Like mansions is another one.
Right.
Like I have some friends that they have like the place at the top of the building that came furnished. They're wonderful. I'm paying for it. I want it. Right. I have some friends that moved out of state, and they're paying a hefty price for a massive property, and it came furnished, but they moved from San Diego. They're like, well, we sold all our stuff because we're not coming back.
Right.
So for them, they're like, we're going to go here, park it for 3 years, sort out where we want to build something, find the piece of land we want, and then so that was the whole play. So it's a long-term rent that included it all, but it was very specific, and it was high-end.
Right.
Well, the thing is, we get hired to cast the widest net possible to market the property, right? And you're talking about the 1% of times.
Absolutely.
And so it's very specific, and a lot of owners don't realize that. We as a company, I'll tell you that as an industry, people do not take furnished long-term rentals.
Yeah.
We as a company will market the property furnished or unfurnished, but we have to be prepared.
Yeah.
We prepare the owner that they have to move the things out.
Yeah, you're already saying owner beware.
Yeah, like you have to be ready to move the things out if the tenant does not want it. But we'll accommodate that, like if the 1% of opportunity happens.
Oh, so you guys are pretty entrepreneurial, but you might start a moving trucking company next. Like, hey, we'll help you get all your crap out too. Just hire our partner company over here.
Makes sense.
I do want to spend some time talking about landlords and what's changed for you in the property management space and how you've had to manage landlords and what has changed in the space, because I'm not going to believe or think that everything's the same as it was 3 years ago or 5 years ago. It's not.
Completely different.
Completely different, and I'm not even inside what you're inside. But I can tell that it's different. What is required of you now, even more so with landlords than even just a couple years ago? What are their demands upon you guys as a property management company?
Well, so as a property management company, I don't know if it's so much more demanding. We are on top of the rules and the regulations and the changes are happening constantly. So for me, when you say what's the change in us, not that much, because we still have to. Here's the set of rules that we have to live by, and we have to live by them. 3 years ago, we had a set of rules. We had to live by them, right? What I think has changed dramatically for the homeowner is they're not up on all the changes. They're not up on all the rules. They don't see the nuances to all of the changes. Like, for instance, a really, really popular misconception is that you can only take 1 month security deposit. Well, you can actually take more if you're exempt. And then here's the list of exemptions, right?
Mhm.
So homeowners hear the news of you can only take 1 month security deposit, but they don't hear they don't read the fine print
Yeah.
of here's all the
They,
exemptions.
they read they read the headline, skip the article.
Correct.
Read the headline, skip the article,
Correct.
right?
Correct.
And so it's just there's so many of them now, and there's more coming. Like, one of the things that's really interesting, I'm kind of watching right now, is there's a, how do I say it? There's a maximum temperature.
Oh, that they're talking about controlling the temperature, having the landlord, provide a certain, I guess, temperature for the property. So many people in San Diego, in Southern California, we don't have an AC, right? We're required to have heater, but we don't require to have AC. So now they want to.
No, it's not in law yet. It's not
in law,
it's
but they want to.
suggested,
It's suggested.
legislation. So
They-
like
law-
little things like that
Yeah,
coming.
the landlord should maintain the property at a certain temperature
Wow. So
to make it, comfortable for the resident.
forced control on landlords
Correct.
that it has to be between 72 and 74. And it
Yeah.
can't get colder,
Correct.
can't get hotter.
So it's coming.
Wow, what?
Correct.
That's nuts.
For the 2 weeks in August.
For the I will contend that it's for the 2 weeks in October, because freaking A, why is October so warm in San Diego? It's like 102 today. Like, it's October 26th, you guys. Halloween's like next week.
Exactly.
It's 102. What are we doing?
So California right now is speeding through, in creating legislations, and it's happening, big legislations, a couple times a year.
Yeah,
And
and not
so-
just California, also cities, local cities, because now you have to take in consideration, okay, where is my property located? Is it in Chula Vista? Is it in San Diego? Is it in Lemon Grove? What are the local, ordinances, so that we have to know everything, in every city.
Yeah.
So, and many people just, California. Well, it's not just California, right? It's federal,
Yeah.
California, and local.
Mm-hmm.
You have to be on top of it.
Yeah.
So, I mean,
Well, so what are you most optimistic about? Given all these circumstances and changes, and there's been behavioral changes even that are kind of hard to peg when it comes down to like what factors are changing in the market. But what's something, and I would love both of you to answer, like what's something that you feel really optimistic about, not only just in 2026, but moving forward in the next couple of years? What has you bright-eyed and bushy-tailed?
I always say for me, I'm very optimistic that I think that based on everything that is going on with, the tenant regulations and tenant protections, that people really gonna need to hire a professional property management company. It's not as easy as it used to be before, where you can collect the rent and have that conversation. Everything needs to be documented. Everything needs to, otherwise tenants have a free legal advice in California. If you as a tenant, have a legal question, you can go to this organization and they're going to have free legal representation. Landlords don't have that. So for us, I think being in this business is just understanding that there's going to be a bigger need for professional property management.
Yeah, it sounds like the whole DIY bootstrap it isn't going to be as easy as it used to be.
No.
Or it already isn't.
It already isn't.
It's true. I mean, I do think that you're right that the DIY homeowner it's just more challenging, right? So I agree with you. I think professional property management is going to be something that's going to be more prevalent. I'm really excited about the market. I think that the market has been suppressed for a while, several years, and I do think that it's going to have to at some point in time break. And when it breaks, I think that there's going to be a lot of sales. I think that people are going to move. I don't think that we're going to go deeper into. I don't think we're going to go much further down, right? So I think that the pressure is going to have to come off at some point in time. we've known each other long enough to know that there's cycles in the market, and I think that we're going to come up on one that's going to be exciting to watch. So we've been sort of holding it back for a couple of years, and so I think the reins are going to come off, and
Okay.
I think we'll have a
Well,
good couple of years ahead of
well,
us.
I'll go. Let's go downstream one more step from that. What is an area that you think is prime to have a real glow up? Like, what's a part of town that you think is ripe for either current investors to go grow, new investors to go check out? Where do you think there's going to be a lift up? Neighborhood, zip code, section of county, I don't care how you classify it. Is there any areas you're looking at? By the way, I realize as I'm asking this, I'm like, I might be asking them to give away their secrets. Where's an area you think maybe people should be putting their attention right now in San Diego that maybe there's not a lot of attention but should get a second look?
I'm gonna say city of San Diego, just
The whole city?
Like San Diego
I
proper?
mean, I guess there's certain areas, right? And what is it called? The density?
The transit
The
priority?
transit priority area. The word, yes. So for us, I mean, for ourselves, we've been looking in the transit priority areas where we can purchase properties that we can invest on, because I mean, you're going to be allowed to build a lot more, properties there. So for us, that's what we're looking at personally.
We are personally looking there. Another area that has a lot of development opportunities is Escondido, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Close to they've rezoned a lot of the area along like 9th and I can't remember the name of the street, but there's a center
City
where
Center Power.
Center City Parkway. Yeah,
Center
where they want a lot of development, and they've done a lot of rezoning in that area. Very small lots can have quite a bit of density, and so Escondido is an area where I think that there's going to be a lot of development coming soon, the next 3 or 4 years, once people start to understand. Kind of like
It's already happening too.
yeah, kind of like though. But remember back in like 2013, 14, like Barrio Logan changed a lot of their their zoning.
Yeah.
So that's
very-
And then look what happened right after that.
Right. So
Yep.
Escondido just did that
Oh, wow.
about a year,
I didn't
year and
know
a half
that.
ago.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, now I learned something new. I learned something new.
Yeah.
This is a risky question because you may already have a client that you're managing a property in the following city. What's a city you would tell people like, hey, don't go look over there? Sorry for all you who have your favorite city in town. I don't know what city they're about to say. So in advance, they didn't know I was going to ask this question. Is there a city where you just think this isn't probably the best place to go buy an investment? And it's not an accusation on the city. Just maybe it doesn't financially make sense.
Okay, so I'll say it this way. I'll say that there's communities in San Diego that have gone above and beyond the state tenant regulations, right? So City of San Diego, Chula Vista.
Chula Vista for sure.
It's hard because there's regulatory stuff,
Yeah, so it's just a matter-
localized regulatory stuff.
Correct. So they put additional ordinances on top of what the state has already said is what we want to set the bar at. For instance, moving assistance or it's just local regulations. So Chula Vista, San Diego, those are areas to just take that into consideration when you're doing your numbers for the property. So while San Diego is, and we are looking in San Diego, right, for those large lots, small house, so we can put a lot of units on it.
Yeah.
We're looking for that, but just know that in that same community, there's higher level of regulations on those properties.
Well, and you brought up the relocation thing, which is crazy. I mean, it's the rental version of cash for keys. Like, hey, we're going to pay you to leave, but the landlord's giving the person money to like scoot and get out of here.
Correct. So it's just
You got to plan for that one.
You do. You do. I understand where they're going. Let's put it this way. They are really trying to target the apartment complexes or the large developers who are just going in and taking a property that people have lived in the property for 10, 15 years, and they're paying a certain number, and then all of a sudden they've doubled their rent.
Well, it's way below. So it's way below market rent.
Yeah.
They're gonna reno it, and they're gonna bam hit you with the double, triple the price kind of deal.
Correct. So they're
Yeah.
trying to prevent that, right? But it does trickle down to, somebody who lives inside those communities that, they didn't intend on having to pay 2 months rent to have the person leave.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
so you have to figure that all out in your numbers.
What was the summary? Is it save your money? The lesson there. The lesson is save as much money as you can.
Save some money, definitely.
Yeah. What has been this is probably too, I don't know. It may or may not be too open-ended, but I still am curious to ask you guys, what has been the most gratifying part for you in working together as a couple? I mean, this is hard to do. It's very challenging. I know property management, real estate. What has been the most gratifying part of working as a couple? Because most people can't do this at all, let alone do it well, or let alone do it without it breaking everything else.
I know, huh?
So
I'm going to talk about, I guess, the most gratifying part, to answer the question. I really believe that I couldn't do what I do without him. So I think that we make each other stronger. And I think that we complement each other in that way. His strengths are different than my strengths. So we really come together. I mean, we learn to work together. It hasn't been easy, obviously.
Yes, it has.
We're
I've
24
loved
hours a
every
day,
moment of it. What are
7
you talking
days
about?
a week. But, just understanding and hearing each other's perspective, I think is important, because we just see things differently too. And sometimes, we just have to understand where the other one is coming from. And that's at the beginning, I always said, hey, like in this business, you have to have one boss. Like I understand, and we, the business can only have one leader. You cannot have two leaders, right? So I said, if you can lead, just know that comes with a higher level of responsibility. So even if I disagree with you, you're gonna have to make the last decision.
and then it's going to be on you.
And that's that's the last decision,
yeah.
because somebody has to
Someone
move.
has to, yeah.
Someone has to move forward, right?
Yeah.
So we can't. So that was the beginning of it, right?
What would you say? What would you say is the most gratifying part of working together?
I think I really agree, in the sense that we both have really different strengths. Clients love Yesenia. Oftentimes they hate me.
You have a good cop, bad cop thing going on?
He's
We
the
do.
negotiator. I'm the one
Really,
soften the.
people love Yesenia. They're like, they love Yesenia. They never call me and invite me to the party. They call her, and I just get to come.
Like you said, you're invited, and if you want to bring Billy, go ahead.
Yeah, kind of. I do feel like we have propelled each other to go further than where we would have gone on our own. I think we both would have been very successful on our own. I think together, though, Yesenia has creative ideas, very creative on like how to approach issues. A lot of times I'll hey, I'm running into a wall, and I literally, that's how I solve issues, is I just run into the wall until it's over.
You break through it.
I break through. Yesenia, why didn't you go around? Why didn't you go over it? Like, that's so clear to me. And
You see that little path over there? That's already like this.
so being able to work together really has, we do balance each other. We are in separate offices. We can't sit in the exact same room. So
He has to have his own room.
Yeah.
because she hates when I'm playing, Candy Crush on the phone, talking to
Oh, come on. Wow. All right.
This is just
I've graduated from Candy Crush.
Not a
but
real scenario.
maybe a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's definitely, it just makes our relationship better. Like
Yeah.
you have your space, I have my space, and you do with your time what you need. I'm going to do with my time what I need. But,
Yeah.
we just need to work together. And for us, I think that's, and just being able to know that we don't have to wonder about each other. Like many people said, "Oh my God, but you guys work all the time." I'm like, "Yeah, but we understand each other. It's okay. Like
That's
it's okay
good.
to
That's
get
really cool.
maybe that day you need to be with the client at 9 p.m. totally okay with that, right?
Yeah.
He might not
I've been
be.
around you all day long. Go. I'll
Exactly.
see you later when you come back.
I will put
just-
it out there, as there's any couples who are working together and they want couple therapy, maybe go to dinner together just to talk about these things.
Yeah, do that. Yeah.
We're open.
Yeah, and there's a lot of and there's a lot of work to get to this point where
Oh.
okay, it's this way now. It wasn't always this way. We got here though. We had to like, get here, and I think that's commendable because, like I said, most people don't work with their spouse. Number one, number two, if they do, they sometimes can't for long, and or sometimes it just breaks the entire thing. And I would not want that for anybody else, but. I'm so grateful that you guys live out that and demonstrate that publicly, and also, are leaders in what you do.
Yeah.
People trust you. They're coming to you because of your expertise and your teamwork, and probably a little bit because of the good cop, bad cop thing going on. I definitely see why there's a slanted invitation more on one side than the other.
Of course.
That may or may not encourage you sometimes.
Right?
But I want to make sure that people know how to reach you guys. So if they do want to reach you, what's the best way for them to reach you directly or your company as a whole?
Either, or they can always go to our website, which is willysusa.com, and all the information is there. They can reach out to us there. We can also, provide our, telephone or cell phone number as well. If you want me to say it now, I can say it. 619-787-4066. That's Billy's.
Go ahead and send your angry text messages to that number.
He's just much better and faster. That's why.
Yeah,
He is so much better at responding faster. So he can multitask. I am more like, okay, give me my space. I need to work.
Yeah. No, that's good.
But yeah, no.
Another
It's
good
been
striking the balance. Yeah.
Correct.
we've been together for 15 years. I mean, working together 15 years. So it's been a few years already.
It has.
Seems like yesterday.
Yeah. That's great. Well, I'm so glad to know you guys. Just as my own personal thing here, I'm so glad to know you. And I know it has been a while since we've been able to sit and talk like this, but I appreciate you accepting my invitation to come in and do a show and talk about it and let people know more about what you're doing with Willy's USA. It was also a joy to run into Dina out at networking, and I was like, oh my gosh, you work with Billy Yesenia, and then I had her here, and she did a great job on the show, by the way.
That's great.
Yeah, she did. It was her first podcast ever,
Is
and she did fantastic. It was like she was like a seasoned pro. I was like, hey, how long do you think that show was? She was like, I don't know, like maybe 25 minutes. I'm like, no, it was like 45. So the little joke there was that before she was like, oh, I don't know if I can. Half an hour seems like forever. I'm like, nah, don't worry, it's not gonna be forever. It'll be quick. So yeah,
She's
you
great.
guys are.
She's a really good person. We like having her around. She's really good. And by the way, thank you for inviting us. We definitely enjoy it too. We know you for so long, and it's good to reconnect with you, and also know that I mean, we told Dina this, like, you're one of the nicest guys we have met
jeez.
in the industry. No, really, like, it's not telling you, but we were talking about that the other day. So appreciate that, and
Well, I
definitely
appreciate your
happy
kind
to be
words.
here.
Thank you so much. I'm
You
not
are
surprised
one
looking
of the
from you.
nicest guys.
No, I'm just kidding. Yes. Thanks for having me.
Sincerely, thank you, Brad.
Yeah. Well, thank you guys so much for spending time with us here today. For all of you who are just brand new to the Friends of Mortgage Heroes channel, make sure you click that like button. If you are in a situation where you have properties and you are just sick of doing the DIY thing and you need pros on your side, please connect with Billy and Yesenia. Please connect with them and tell them, hey, these are the problems I'm having. Like, be honest. The best thing you could do is be open and upfront with what you're being challenged by, and then get the help that they can offer from their years of experience and also the track record in the industry. So, and also, if you're watching this and you happen to be married to the person who is been rejecting help, maybe this is something you can send them to. You could share the love with them, and they can get the qualified help that they want, especially as things are changing so much in the policy land, San Diego landscape in general with real estate, and a lot of these variables that we're just never in control of.
Right.
Prices and rates and cost of goods and services and supply and demand and all these things. Like, look, when all those things are out of your control, sometimes you just need to have people in your corner that you can trust and call on. And I would love for you guys to call Billy and Yesenia. So
I'd like to add
you.
something more. Thank you,
Yeah,
if you don't
for it.
mind. So, if you're a real estate agent in San Diego, anywhere, I guess, and you have a client who, is looking for a property management company and you don't know who to refer them to, we have a realtor referral program where we can actually refer that, one, we, offer a referral, but most important is we have a written agreement between the company and the realtor that your client will remain yours. So whenever they're ready to sell and when they send us the email or they give us the phone call where, hey, we're looking to potentially list the property, then that's when we can actually reach out to the realtor who referred it to us.
That's
and
a
have
really
it
key
listed.
point.
Yeah.
I'm glad you have that. I'm glad you have that rule, and I'm also glad that you mentioned that. Thank
Yeah.
you for saying that.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Well, thank you
Thanks
guys
for having
both
us.
for you're welcome. Thank you for being here. Thank you all for watching,
Thank you.
and we'll
Thank
see you
you.
again with another great guest next week. Bye.
Bye.